Short ribs. Braised short ribs. Start with some salt and pepper. Short ribs have a lot of flavor in them. You don't need a lot of seasoning. Keep it simple. Coat it on all sides. And then in a big pot, this is a big cast iron pot, a Dutch oven, heat up some oil while you're doing the salt and pepper job. All right, a couple tablespoons of oil. I used avocado oil. It handles the heat quite well. Then once that oil's good and hot, transfer the short ribs. Do the short ribs in batches. Depending on how many you have, you probably do 4 or maybe 5 at a time. That way you can turn them. They don't cool the pan down. And you get a nice char. All right, keep turning them as you go. You want to get all sides browned. This might produce some smoke, so you'll need a good vent hood. All right, there's the first batch done. You want it to be browned on all sides like that. Beef short ribs. Pretty fatty, pretty tough meat, but that's why we do them like this. We braise them for 2-3 hours. All right, and then get into your second batch. These make a hell of a mess. They splatter grease all over the place, so I've got this screen here to cut down on that a little bit. It is a fairly messy process to get the initial cooking done on these ribs. All right, once they're all browned up, you can just take them out. And we'll go on to the next step. Okay. Preheat the oven here. Okay, there's a lot of grease sitting in there. Kind of black charred grease. Get rid of most of that and then just leave a little bit behind and leave those burnt pieces in the pan behind. Don't make too much of a mess. Okay, vegetables. Celery, onion, a little bit of garlic, and some carrots. These are baby carrots. And I'm just going to put them in like this. Some people will chop them up, but I'm going to put them in like this. A couple of bay leaves. Alrighty, you keep that pot hot. Get the celery in there. Get in there. Onion. We'll stir this around. That was the garlic. I plucked the garlic out. Don't put the garlic in yet. All right. I'm going to hold on to those carrots for now. Tomato paste. Now, some recipes call for 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. It's quite common to do 1 tablespoon. I've got one of these small cans. It's probably 3 or 4 tablespoons. I'm doing a lot of ribs here. I'm just going to throw the whole thing in there. A little more tomato than some people might like, but it's fine. A little bit dry. Add some more avocado oil in there. Stir it up. And there's the tomato paste. These are these small cans of tomato paste. They're 156 milliliters, which is like I don't even know what they are in ounces. I guess it doesn't matter. Only one country in the world uses ounces anymore. 156 milliliters. And stir that paste into the vegetables there. As the vegetables continue to cook and soften. Beef broth. This is a quart of beef broth. It's actually 900 milliliters, which is probably a little bit less than a quart, a little bit less than a liter. I'm going to pour the whole thing in. Use a liter if you have it. Use 800 milliliters, 900 milliliters, doesn't matter too much. Around a quart. These are red wine braised short ribs. So I've got a cheap bottle of red wine here. Pour most of it in. Reserve a little bit for yourself. Probably put 3/4 of the bottle in, roughly. Okay, that's starting to come to a boil. The tomato paste can doubles as a grease receptacle. We'll put that outside so it hardens and then it can be thrown away. All right, time for the ribs. I'm going to lay them bone side up. It doesn't really matter which way you do it, but this way the meat stays submerged in the liquid and I think you'll get more even cooking if you go bone side up. And just find a little slot for each of those lovely little short ribs. There's the garlic. I took 1 clove of garlic, strong garlic that I have, just cut it in half, peeled it, cut it in half, and just threw the 2 half pieces in. And that flavor will come out of that garlic that way. There's no need to chop it up in a million pieces. A couple of bay leaves, a couple of sprigs of thyme as well. On top for a little extra flavor. I don't like a lot of thyme, but a little bit is nice. Don't overdo it. Most of the flavors in the ribs, you don't need a whole lot of seasoning. Now I'm going to put these carrots on top like this. Kind of balance them on top and they will cook, and that will then be a side dish. Build a campfire on top of the ribs of baby carrots. You don't want these things sinking to the bottom and getting all soaked in. Boiled to mush. oven time. So we'll put the lid on this pot. And we'll get the oven ready. (375 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly 170 degrees Celsius. And that's it. The hard work is done. Two and a half, maybe 3 hours later, get your gloves and pull that pot back out. There you go. This is what it's going to look like. The carrots stayed on top mostly, so they'll be good. Steamed. And here's one of the ribs. The meat should fall apart. If it's still not falling apart, you'll need more time. But if it will come apart with a fork or tongs like this, and that bone looks like it's ready to slide off, if you pull on it, it wants to separate from the meat, you know that the ribs are done. So that's it. Red wine braised short ribs, some carrots on top, some Instant Pot mashed potatoes, and some of this sauce. It can be quite oily. If you can remove some of that grease with a spoon from the top, that's probably a good thing to do. I just kind of pushed it to the side and not to the bottom, to the red wine beef tomato based sauce. That's a great sauce for mashed potatoes. It's a great sauce for the short ribs. And it's just falling apart here. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your short ribs next time you make them. Keep it simple and enjoy.